right, so you have your two kitty cat paws and you have your ears. So I'm going to show you where I put my placement for my Purmaids. You are, of course, free to put them wherever you want. I like to pin my sort of appendages in place before I sew them on. So with the paws themselves, I leave them completely unstuffed and I like to have them flat. So when I sew them to the top, I sew through both sides and straight onto the body. So with regards to placement, because your Purmaid's lying on her back, I tend to have them round about sort of here. So what I'll do is before I pin anything, I put the paws together so they're sort of, so if you want to be able to have her clap her own little paws, I'm sort of pinning them round about here-ish. So feel free to play with placement. I'm just going to bring in some of my pins. So I like to just pin things in place before committing to actually sewing them on, just so you can get an idea of where things are going to go. So that would be vaguely where the first paw was going to go. So I'm going to line up the other one. I'm just checking from the back to make sure that they're sort of even. So round about there-ish. So sort of something along those lines. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these on. I'll speed up the footage. Okay, so that's her little paws sewn on. Placement, hopefully you're being a little bit careful than me. I seem to have one arm slightly higher than the other, but it gives her personality and means she can cross her paws at the front. Now for the ears. So if I bring in her little smaller sister here, you can see I have the ears in line just a couple of rows out from the very center point here. But I curve the ears. I don't know if this is picking up on camera. I curve the ears round when I sew them. So I don't sew them on as flat triangles. I sort of curve them a little bit like that and sew in a sort of semicircular crescent shape to the head. So using this as the sort of guide here, I can line up, come here you, I can line this one up and know that I kind of want the ears to start about here and to end a couple of rows down here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin those in place. So that's sort of where I want her ears to be in relation to her head. I think I've set these ones a little bit further back than these, but you have a little play with the placement. Pins are awesome for this sort of thing. You can just sort of have a little gauge, and I always find that no matter where I pin them, I always end up sewing them on slightly differently. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach her ears. So that's kind of how I sew the ears on. It's not really a precise science. I'm sort of molding and shaping as I go to get the sort of look I'm after. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and sew on this second ear, and then we can do her face, and then we can celebrate because she's so nearly done. All right, so my Purmaid has her ears. They're a bit wonky, but I don't care. They give her personality. I'm not one for being too much of a perfectionist. I like how, particularly in Amigurumi, tiny little differences can make just your projects have such personality. So let's have a look. These are my original two Purmaids here. This is my big chunky girl in the middle. So now we're going to have a look at faces. So if I put her flat on her back, the first decision you need to make is where you want this pink nose to be in relation to however your Purmaid is sitting. You can see these two are slightly different when they're nose up. So you want to decide, because your eyes will be in line with the nose. So depending on how your Purmaid lies on the side determines where you want the nose to be. So just have a little play. This is where the pins again come in quite handy. So for mine, let's have a look. I think I want her nose to be here, covering that sort of space. And then let's come down a couple of rows at the end of her mouth ending there. So that's for that. It's just a couple of lines, just a couple of stitches. Let's see how far apart. So it's sort of 2 rows down, 3 or 4 stitches across for the width of her nose. And then from wherever your nose is, you want to leave a full stitch, and then the eyes span 4 stitches. So wherever your nose ends, leave a stitch, and then 4 stitches width for the actual eye, and you can see it's pulled up 1 row above. So let's go ahead and mark. So if that, for instance, is where my nose is going to end, that is the stitch I'm going to leave free. That's where one eye would start, and it's 4 stitches including this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the top of her eye would come in at about there. So you can sort of see the face starts to take shape. It's totally up to you where you want to put these things. You may find, or I even may find in a minute, that the face is not in line and I haven't put the nose in the center. Let's have a look. In line with her ears. But that'll sort of do. So grab yourself a little scrap of pink yarn, a scrap of black yarn, and we can embroider the face. All right, so let's move these guys out of the way. I'm going to go ahead with the placement that I opted for. We'll see if she looks completely derpy or if it works out perfectly. So with my pink yarn, I've got quite a nice long length. I'm going to come in from sort of over here from the side, and I'm going to aim for this black needle here, pin, sorry, but hey, first time. Okay, so Be careful not to pull through any stuffing, but leave a length hanging out the back here. I'm just going to bring the camera in fractionally so you can see what I'm doing more clearly. Okay, so we're up close and personal with her face. I've got the section hanging out the back. And for the nose, I'm just going to go in where I took out that black pin. Let me lose that before I stab myself. And then I'm going to bring it to the middle, sort of in line here, just for this first pass. Then I'm going to bring this down to that second marker down here, because this is sort of like her mouth. And then I'm going to bring my needle back out at the same point. So here. Then I'm just going to run my yarn back and forth to flesh out her nose a little bit. And once you're happy, bring this yarn back out if you can. I think mine's going to want to come out down here somewhere. Just make sure you're coming out in a space in between the stitches and you're not actually catching them. Let's just draw this last one across. Feel free to spend a bit more time than I am, making sure you get your perfect little snoot. And then I'm going to bring this yarn just back through, going straight back into the same stitch, so I don't want to see it. I'm going to bring it out at this point with this friend tail over here. So make sure it's definitely gone. You're happy with the nose, and when you're happy, I then like to do a knot at the back here. And then I take one tail and thread it off in one direction and the other tail off in the other, just as a touch more secure, and you can hide the knot. So I'm just going to bring this one up out over here. If I pull it through, I'm hiding, I pulled that knot back into her head. And then I run this one off in an opposite direction. So then that knot is completely disappeared. The nose is nice and secure. And when you snip the ends, if you pull them a little bit tight, when you snip them, the end should spring back into the head. And that's her little nose done. Now on to the eyes. Okay, same technique for the eyes. Come in further away around the back of the skull somewhere and aim for one of these pins, one of these two level pins here. I'm going to aim to come out round about here. Oh, no, close. Now I've caught a little bit of the stuffing there, as you can see, which is what you want to try and avoid if possible. So I'm just going to use this pin to hold it back as I draw my yarn through. Oh no, it's coming anyway. Brains are coming out. So I've pulled through a length, and then to get this to go back in, I'm going to hold this tight and I'm going to pull it. See how it pulls the stuffing? Pulling it that way, pulls the stuffing back in. So now we are stuffing free for her eye. Just like before, I am going to drop it in on this level point. What are these pins? And I'm going to come out on this third yellow pin up here. Now you take more time than I am because I keep catching this stuffing. So you can either have a eye however you want. You can have it a straight line like that. You can pull it down like this if you want her to be sleepy. Or like I do, I like her to be happy. So I have happy eyes up here. So if you wanted sleepy eyes, instead of coming out at this triangular point above the line, come out at the triangular point below the line. Then that way you can have like a little sleepy eye, like so. Actually, do you know what? It does look cute having little sleepy eyes. Maybe we should have sleepy eyes for her. This is happy eyes. Let me bring in happy eyes. That's happy eyes. Do you know what? Let's go with happy eyes. This is what I was showing you. I mustn't deviate halfway through. So I'm pulling this yarn. Hopefully you can see, I know it's black, underneath. I've pulled it underneath this loop, which I've kept a little bit loose, which will pull the eye back up, and then just pop your yarn back into that same stitch. And I'm going to bring mine out over here, hopefully. So I'm just going to tighten this up gently. So it just catches her eye. So we've got happy eyes. And then repeat the same for the second eye. And then I'm threading it back out over here. I'm just holding that up with my thumb as I catch it. As you can see, I've brought through some of the stuffing here because I'm rushing. I'll trim that off afterwards. And that's how you do the little Purmaid face. So then, just like before with the nose, bring these, thread them round sort of to a point where they meet, knot them and thread them into her skull. Or you could even embroider little whiskers if you wanted to. Completely up to you. And that's it. You are done. You have one completed Purmaid. I really, really hope you enjoyed these tutorials. I'm aware they're very long. It's quite a complicated pattern with lots of various slip stitching and odd stitches and bizarre techniques, particularly for that booty. But I hope it was all worthwhile. Massive, massive congratulations if you have made it this far and have watched all the videos. That in itself is quite an epic achievement. So I hope you enjoyed making your little Purmaids. I hope you go on to make a whole host of Purmaids. I have no idea what multiple Purmaids would be called. Multiple jellyfish are a bloom of jellyfish. So I think, I don't know what a collection of Purmaids would be classed as. If you know, let me know. Give me a shout in comments. So that's it from me. I will see you again on my channel very soon. Enjoy your little Purmaid friends. Bye.